public access in here.
Yeah, but I'm in conversation with her.
I know, but this isn't a public access area, so you can just head out into here for me.
I'm in the middle of a conversation. This is so that I can have a private conversation. Yeah, but I'm having a private conversation with him.
Okay, you're not at the minute though, so if you could just head out on here, because this is a private room. Thank you very much.
Sure. Right. What's your name again, sorry?
As I said, Tony.
Tony and Lucy, was it?
Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
And you're 8013.
7536.
And you want to know how I managed to get through there?
Yeah.
Why are you so curious about that?
See, are you not going to tell us? I
Restricted area.
mean, ultimately, we can look at the cameras. If you can tell us, that would just be quicker for everyone involved, wouldn't it?
Well, I don't see what I need to tell you.
Okay, well, we'll wait on it.
Why are you so curious about that then?
Because it's a locked room, that's all.
Maybe I've got superpowers.
Do we know who can access the cameras in the front office? Staff, I don't know.
Based on the officer's reaction, you'd think Brett had breached a high-security facility. In reality, he did nothing more than open an unlocked door, one with no warning signs, no barriers, and no indication it was restricted. That distinction is critical. In both policing and property law, responsibility falls on those securing the space. If there's no clear notice or physical restriction, an ordinary person has no reasonable way of knowing they're entering a private area. Brett didn't force entry, bypass security, or ignore posted rules, because none existed. The facts are simple and undeniable. If a room is meant to remain private, it must be properly secured. In this case, it wasn't. That failure lies squarely with the officers, not with Brett. But instead of acknowledging their own procedural lapse, the situation escalated. The decision to review security footage didn't clarify the truth. It intensified the response, turning a straightforward mistake into a completely unnecessary confrontation.
Have you just come out of custody?
No.
No.
Well, I did go and see custody.
You want to go see her?
Yeah, I was just having a look
Did
round.
they help you?
Well, she opened the door for me. But I was having a look round.
I think we just need to make sure that this door is secure, that's really...
Yeah.
Because you're not committing any offences, so we just need to make sure that the door is secure, that's all. I wonder if it's just been left slightly...
But that's just a private room, isn't it? So you can have a private conversation rather than having a public one out
Get
here.
into it, were you? I'm out of the police station. Don't want you in the police station.
Why not? It's a public building.
I think you've got bail conditions not to be in them.
No, I haven't.
You've got a CBO condition, have you not?
No,
What have you got then?
nothing at all.
Time to
What's CBO stand for?
in behaviour order.
No, I haven't.
My colleague's just going to get some details. And we'll work it out from there.
How are you? How can I not be allowed to go in a police station then? It's like not being allowed in a hospital if you had a road accident or something. If I've got business to be in here.
The officer steps in and physically blocks Brett from entering the police station, a public building, based on nothing more than a personal assumption. He claims, "I think you've got a CBO," despite having no confirmation whatsoever. His colleague is still in the process of checking Brett's details, yet the officer treats his guess as established fact. This isn't just poor judgment, it's a serious misuse of authority. Denying someone access to public services cannot be based on speculation, especially when Brett is calmly explaining that he's there to meet a specific officer he has already been in contact with. A criminal behavior order is not a minor detail. It's a formal court-imposed restriction issued after conviction, limiting where a person can go and what they are permitted to do. That level of restriction demands certainty, not assumption. Acting on a hunch in this situation doesn't just cross a line. It risks unlawfully stripping an innocent person of their basic rights.
What's your business to be in there?
Well, I have got business to be in there.
What's your business?
I'm inquiring and following up about an illegal arrest.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, well that remains to be seen, doesn't it?
What, as to whether it was illegal or not? You know my name, do you?
Yeah.
Because obviously that gentleman in there, who's very polite actually and very helpful, he knows who I am. What would happen if I went in the police station then?
You'll be breaching whatever order it is that you've been given.
Well, I haven't been given any orders. When you get, just tell me how you get given the order, because as far as I know, there's no order. But how would it have been presented? In some sort of document form, wouldn't it?
Usually, yeah.
And I'd have had a bit of paper or a bit of writing on there saying,
Or you may have been to court.
no, I'm in court, only in jury service. I'm allowed in the police station until you can prove that otherwise.
Brett ends up doing what the officer should have done from the start, laying out the facts with clarity and precision. A criminal behavior order isn't something that exists on a hunch. It's issued through the courts, formally recorded, and properly served to the individual. There would be a clear process, a court appearance or official notification, backed by documented evidence outlining every restriction in detail. By calmly asking the obvious, how would I have received it? Wouldn't there be paperwork? Brett forces the situation into focus. The logic is undeniable. If none of those steps ever occurred, then either the officer has the wrong person, or the order simply doesn't exist. What should have happened is straightforward. Before taking any action, the officer should have verified Brett's identity with full accuracy, checked official systems for any active order tied to him, and confirmed that it had been properly served, along with understanding its exact terms. That's not optional. It's basic policing. Because in law enforcement, decisions must be driven by verified evidence, not assumptions, not guesswork, and certainly not instinct.
No, because we don't want you in there just at the moment.
Why not?
Because we believe that you're breaching a community order.
Community order?
Yeah.
How else would the community order work then? So, for example, would it be for like antisocial behaviour or...
I believe so. I haven't seen the order myself.
Yeah, there would be. What I'm getting at is there would be a reason would there as to why you're not allowed to do something. Is that right? Yeah, and that would be down there as well. What sort of things could you be given that sort of?
There's a multitude of things.
Oh, go on. These are what I'm interested in. Oh, yeah.
Hello. Can I just confirm your name is Julian?
Some people call me that. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Julian, the time is 1:15 p.m. I'm arresting you on suspicion of breaching your community protection order
I haven't got a community protection
by being
order.
in less than 100 metres from a police station. I'm also arresting you on suspicion of being found in an enclosed premises. You do not have to say anything but may harm defence. You do not mention one question, something which later will lie in court. Anything you do say may be given evidence. Do you understand what that means?
Yeah. But
So you're under arrest now, so you're not allowed.
The officer opens with a simple question. Your name's Julian? And Brett responds honestly. Some people call me that. That moment should have triggered standard procedure. Verify his full legal identity, confirm the spelling, check his date of birth, and run the proper records. Instead, the officer treats a casual nickname as definitive proof, bypasses every basic safeguard, and escalates straight to an arrest. What follows is not just a mistake. It's a serious breakdown in procedure. The charges only make it worse. She claims Brett violated a community protection order, then layers on an additional allegation of being found in an enclosed premises. But that second charge collapses under the weight of her own words. The narrative doesn't hold, the evidence doesn't align, and what should have been a routine verification spirals into a completely unjustified arrest.
I think we just need to make sure that this door is secure, that's really...
Yeah.
Because you're not committing any offences, so we just need to make sure that the door is secure, that's all.
She openly admits the door was unlocked. She confirms he never forced entry. And most critically, she acknowledges that no crime was committed. Yet despite all of that, she proceeds to arrest him on the very allegation she has just established doesn't even constitute an offense.
what happened was I was arrested. They used force against me and put me in cuffs and bent my fingers back. They stuck me into the back of the police van and took me around to the custody place where I was told that I'd breached a behavioural order and I'd got into a secure area. Well, I protested my innocence, and they looked into it and discovered that they'd arrested the wrong person, that there's another person with my name and date of birth who had a behavioural order against them, and they thought that that was me, and like I say, arrested me for it. And then this secure area I got into, well, the door was ajar. It's in the public foyer where you have a private conversation with the police.
Brett was taken into custody as though he were a dangerous offender, all based on an identity that was never properly verified. From the very beginning, the arrest hinged on assumption rather than confirmation. But the moment he arrived at the station, everything began to unravel. It quickly became clear that the person they were actually searching for shared the same name and date of birth, but it wasn't Brett. A critical error had been made, exposing just how little verification had been done before depriving him of his freedom. What followed only deepened the situation. Brett was accused of breaking into a restricted area, yet even custody staff were eventually forced to acknowledge what he had been saying all along. The door had not been locked. In fact, it had been left open because it was a public privacy room, a designated space where members of the public can speak privately with police officers. By the time the truth was fully recognized, the damage had already been done. Brett had been wrongfully arrested, physically restrained, and put through a completely avoidable breakdown in basic procedure, from a flawed assumption at the start to a preventable mistake at every stage that followed.
The police station there, I had legitimate reason to be in there. I wanted to talk to them about the previous case. Guys in the custody suite, to be fair, are nice guys. Big up Graham in the custody. But they released me, saying they'd checked the CCTV footage and seen that the door was ajar, and I just pushed the door open and went in. So it wasn't a secure area. So that's that, really. Pretty shocking to get arrested, though, for that, isn't it?
Brett's response says more than any explanation ever could. When someone questioned how police could arrest the wrong person inside their own station in an era of advanced technology, his answer was simple and devastating in its implications. A payout of around £7,000, rising to over £20,000 with legal costs. That figure alone tells the story, because settlements like that don't happen for minor misunderstandings. They happen when something has gone so badly wrong that defending it in court is no longer an option. In other words, the system effectively admitted failure. What makes this case so alarming is how preventable it all was. Brett wasn't being aggressive, disruptive, or attempting to evade anyone. He simply entered an unsecured, unmarked area that should have been properly controlled by staff. Instead of being treated like a member of the public seeking assistance, he was wrongly identified and escalated into a serious situation. And as the confusion unfolded, there were multiple moments where everything could have been corrected. Brett asked clear, rational questions. How he would have been notified of any order against him, what documentation should exist, and how such a record could be verified. Each question should have been a red flag that something was fundamentally off. But instead of pausing to reassess, the situation escalated. At one point, even as it was acknowledged that no actual crime had been established, Brett was still placed in handcuffs for alleged offenses that didn't hold up under scrutiny. In the end, the outcome spoke for itself. A settlement exceeding £20,000, including legal fees, reflects a case that authorities could not justify defending. While Brett walked away with compensation, the cost ultimately fell on the public, raising serious questions about accountability, decision-making, and basic competence within the system. And that's the real takeaway. When mistakes at this level happen, it's not just an error. It's a failure that everyone ends up paying for.